Oliver Harrington rarely ventured into the kitchen. He didn't need to. He owned multiple penthouses across the world, each staffed with professional chefs, or at least had the constant availability of fine dining deliveries. But tonight, he felt restless, bored, tired of perfection on a silver platter. He wanted to create something with his own hands, a sense of achievement that had nothing to do with business deals or lavish corporate expansions. He strolled through the gleaming expanse of stainless steel and marble that formed his penthouse's gourmet kitchen. He'd never used half the equipment. The appliances still had that new sheen, untouched except for the rare day a private chef visited. But Oliver had insisted on sending them away tonight. He wanted solitude and an adventure of sorts. His phone lay on the counter, open to a recipe for homemade seafood paella. Ambitious for a beginner, sure, but he was confident he could handle it. Hadn't he conquered business realms? A paella was child's play, just follow the instructions. Humming softly, he donned an apron, still bearing the designer tag, and assembled ingredients he'd ordered fresh that morning. Fish stock, saffron, shrimp, clams, mussels, finely chopped peppers, and onions. The instructions scrolled on the phone's screen. Heat oil in a large pan, sauté onions and peppers, add garlic, tomatoes, spices, stir in rice, then pour in stock. Arrange seafood on top. Let simmer until the rice absorbs liquid. Simple, right? Oliver followed the steps meticulously at first. He heated a wide paella pan, swirling oil. The onions and peppers sizzled, releasing a mouth-watering aroma. Pleased, he added tomatoes, his eyebrows rising at how quickly they bubbled. He tried to control the heat, adjusting knobs he'd never used, but the stovetop's interface confused him. There were so many advanced settings. He pressed random buttons, certain he'd find the correct heat level soon. Anxious, he rummaged for the saffron and realized the pot was heating unevenly. The edges hissed, forming black char at the sides. A sense of panic fluttered in his stomach, but he refused to give up. "I'm Oliver Harrington. I've faced bigger challenges than a stove." He bravely poured in the fish stock, ignoring the ominous sizzling snap. White steam blasted upward. He coughed, eyes watering. A wave of thick smoke suddenly billowed from the pan. No. He scrambled to reduce the heat, pressing random controls. The stove beeped angrily. He tried to move the pan off the burner, but the handle was searing hot. A flurry of curses left his mouth. Smoke alarm klaxons shrieked overhead. The sprinklers threatened to trigger. He dashed for the fire extinguisher he knew was stowed in a cabinet, but at that moment a small flame ignited at the pan's edge, licking up from oil that had splattered. Heart pounding, Oliver fumbled with the extinguisher. He wrenched at the pin, but it wouldn't budge. The flame grew, climbing the overhead vent. Smoke roiled, choking the air. Adrenaline surged, and he kicked aside the pot, but that only caused more spillage. "I have to call 911. Staggering away from the thick smoke, he grabbed his phone. Dialing with trembling fingers, he reported the fire. The dispatcher assured him help was on the way. Oliver coughed violently, covering his mouth with a dish towel. He retreated to the living room, away from the smoky inferno that had once been his cooking ambition. "This is insane. My entire penthouse might go up in flames." Time slowed, each beep of the alarm echoing in his ears. Then at last, he heard the wail of sirens outside. Within minutes, uniformed firefighters burst through his front door, axes and hoses at the ready. A wave of relief swamped him, overshadowed by deep embarrassment. He pointed them to the kitchen, stammering a quick explanation. The fire was contained mostly to the stovetop area, but the smoke had spread. One firefighter turned off the stove's main gas line, while another doused the flames with a targeted extinguisher. A few minutes later, the immediate crisis was over, though the kitchen was drenched in foam, char, and half-burned seafood. Oliver's shoulders sagged. He raked a hand through his hair, ignoring the acrid stench of burnt fish. This is humiliating. He'd probably make tabloid headlines. Billionaire burns down penthouse while attempting homemade dinner. He half expected paparazzi outside already. Suddenly, a figure strode toward him, one of the firefighters removing her helmet. Her face was flushed, hair damp with sweat, bright eyes blazing with command. She was, well, the only word that came to mind was striking. Not in the glamorous sense Oliver usually encountered, but a fierce, down-to-earth beauty. She wore the standard protective gear, a heavy coat with reflective stripes, and her name patch read Reed. She surveyed him with a wry twist of her lips. "You're the occupant, right?" she asked, voice carrying the ring of authority. "You okay? Any burns? Smoke inhalation?" Her tone was professional, but something about her unwavering gaze made him swallow hard. He managed a nod. "I'm fine, just coughed a bit. Didn't get too close to the flames." She studied him for a beat, scanning for injuries. Then, apparently satisfied, she nodded. "Good. Another 5 minutes, though, and it might have spread. Next time, call earlier or learn how to handle an extinguisher." The last line carried a faint hint of teasing, or perhaps frustration. Oliver's cheeks warmed, but he gave a small, sheepish smile. "Right. Sorry. I wasn't expecting to set half my kitchen on fire over a paella." A flicker of amusement crossed her features. "A paella, huh? Ambitious. My captain's finishing up. We'll do a final check." She jerked her chin to the rest of the crew. "You want to wait by the window, get some fresh air?" He nodded. "Yes, sure, thanks." As she turned to rejoin her team, he couldn't resist adding, "I appreciate your quick response, and sorry about all this." She glanced back, her expression softening fractionally. "We're just doing our job. Don't apologize. As cooking mishaps go, this was fairly mild. I've seen worse." Her voice carried a certain dryness that made him think she was used to accidents bigger than a flambéed paella. "You should be thankful your apartment's mostly intact," he exhaled. "Believe me, I am." Something about her confident, matter-of-fact tone intrigued him. She turned away, stepping back into the kitchen. Oliver meandered to a window, letting the cool night air into the smoky penthouse. A swirl of contradictory emotions coursed through him: embarrassment, gratitude, and an odd jolt of fascination for the feisty firefighter who had commanded the scene with such assured grace. Eventually, the firefighters confirmed the fire was out. The lead captain gave Oliver standard instructions about airing out the space, calling in a cleaning crew, and following up with an insurance claim if needed. They warned him about hidden smoke damage in the vent hood. The entire conversation blurred in Oliver's mind. He just kept sneaking glances at the firefighter with the name patch Reed, wishing he had a reason to speak with her more. Then the crew prepared to leave, hauling their gear out. Oliver realized Reed might vanish from his life as suddenly as she'd appeared. Instinct flared, and he hurried forward, ignoring the half-amused stares of the rest of the squad. "Excuse me," he called softly. She paused, turning in the hallway. The overhead lights flickered, highlighting a few stray smudges on her cheek from soot. "Yes?" He offered a polite smile. "Thank you again, for everything." He glanced at her uniform, noticing a small embroidered A. Reed. A. Reed? What's her first name? Is there a chance I can repay your kindness somehow?" She raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "Repay? That's not how it works. We respond to emergencies. You pay your taxes, presumably. That's enough." A slight grin tugged at her lips, as if she found the notion of a billionaire's repayment plan ironic. Oliver flushed, stammering, "I know, but maybe dinner or a donation to the station? I'd like to express my gratitude properly." She studied him, a flicker of guardedness crossing her eyes. "A donation to the station is one thing, but dinner with me? That's not typical protocol." He realized how forward that sounded, especially given the circumstances. I just meant if you're open to it, maybe as a thank you." For a moment, she hesitated, as if weighing the idea. The hallway felt charged. Then she shook her head gently, a wry smile forming. "I appreciate the gesture, but we don't do rescue for dinner trades, Mr. Harrington. We're just doing our jobs." Oliver exhaled, disappointed but not surprised. She turned to go, but halfway she looked over her shoulder. "Anyway, if you want to help, do something about your cooking skills before you light up this place again, and be more careful next time." He laughed softly, acknowledging her point. "I'll take that advice." She nodded, then left to rejoin her team. Within minutes, the elevator doors closed and the fire crew was gone, along with the dynamic energy that had flared in Oliver's penthouse. He stood alone amid the lingering smoke and scattered foam residue, an odd emptiness tugging at him. Something told him this wouldn't be the last time he'd think of Ms. A. Reed. Because in that brief encounter, her sharp wit and unwavering confidence had left a stronger impression on him than any of the hundreds of socialites or business associates he dealt with daily. He had a sense that the cooking mishap that nearly torched his kitchen was the spark to a new journey, one he was strangely eager to follow. Oliver spent the next few days grappling with the aftermath of the mini disaster. He hired a cleaning service to scrub the soot and foam from his once pristine kitchen, replace the charred stovetop, and had an inspector verify no structural damage. Word leaked to a few tabloids. Articles headlined, "Flambe Fail. Billionaire Oliver Harrington's cooking snafu sparks minor fire." Public reaction was mostly teasing, some calling it a culinary meltdown, but it soon faded from the gossip cycle. What lingered in Oliver's mind was the memory of Firefighter Reed. The steady calm in her voice, the no-nonsense attitude, the faint trace of humor in her eyes. He replayed their brief conversation, wishing he'd found a more graceful way to ask her out. He tried to glean more about her. A quick web search for A. Reed, firefighter, City Fire Department, yielded generic department listings, but no personal contact info. He found a group photo on the station's website, row after row of uniformed firefighters. One woman in the back row vaguely resembled her, though the image was small and grainy. The station was labeled Station 57, the same that must have responded to his call. He debated calling the station, but that felt intrusive, especially since she already seemed reluctant. Instead, he directed his philanthropic manager to allocate funds to upgrade gear or sponsor a local fire department initiative, anonymously. It wasn't a bribe for a date, but a genuine gesture of support and appreciation for their service. If Miss Reed discovered who donated, so be it. If not, that was okay too. Life resumed, with Oliver attending corporate meetings, unveiling new expansions for his philanthropic foundation, and overseeing a major product launch. Yet a persistent sense of restlessness tugged at him. Why am I so fixated on her, he wondered. Sure, she was attractive, but it wasn't just about her looks. She radiated authenticity and passion, a directness he rarely encountered in his usual polished circles. He was used to flattery or strategic small talk. Her matter-of-fact style was refreshing. One afternoon, while scanning emails in his office, he paused at a local event announcement, a Firefighters Community Safety Day, hosted by Station 57 in a city park. They'd do live demos, teach kids about fire safety, and hold a small fundraiser for new equipment. Something lit inside him. Could this be a chance to see Ms. Reed again? A. Reed, on her own turf? He told himself it was a public event, open to everyone. He could simply attend, mingle, support the cause. If she was there, he could say hello. If not, no harm done. Decision made, he blocked off that Saturday afternoon on his schedule. Saturday arrived bright and breezy. Oliver dressed casually, dark jeans, a simple collared shirt. He took a lesser-known sedan, not his showy sports car or chauffeured limo. Pulling up to the city park, he saw red fire trucks lined up, small booths with safety pamphlets, a bouncy house for kids, face painting, and a modest stage with a speaker's podium. Families milled around, the scent of grilled hot dogs and kettle corn drifting on the wind. He moved through the crowd, stepping carefully to avoid drawing attention. He recognized the station's emblem on volunteers' t-shirts. Children clambered in and out of open fire engines, thrilled to try on plastic helmets. Firefighters demonstrated how to use extinguishers. Oliver scanned for Ms. Reed, feeling a tingle of nerves. Perhaps this was silly. She might not even be here. Just then, he spotted her. She stood near a large stop, drop, and roll demonstration area, wearing black firefighting trousers, boots, and a red t-shirt with the station's logo. Her dark hair was pulled into a practical ponytail. She was helping a group of kids practice the maneuver on a patch of grass. Her face lit up with encouragement each time a giggling child flopped to the ground. Oliver's heart jumped. He hovered on the sidelines, watching her radiate confidence and warmth, a different aura than the intense emergency scene at his penthouse. She was in her element, teaching, guiding, so obviously passionate about her profession. Finally, as the children dispersed, she stood to stretch, glancing around. Oliver mustered courage, stepping forward. "Hello, Ms. Reed?" She turned, eyes narrowing slightly. Recognition flickered in her gaze, followed by mild surprise. "Mr. Harrington?" Her tone held a note of incredulity. "What are you doing here?" He smiled, lifting a hand in a small wave. "Please call me Oliver. I heard about this community event and thought I'd come support. Fire safety is important, especially for me, it seems." He tried a light joke to ease tension. A half smile tugged at her lips. Ah, yes, the infamous cooking incident. The local press had fun with that, he chuckled. They did, and to be fair, it was deserved. Anyway, I wanted to see if I could help out or just learn more. She folded her arms, studying him. So you woke up this morning and decided to attend a firefighter's open day? Not your usual weekend yacht party, I presume? A teasing edge laced her voice. He scratched the back of his neck, feigning a wounded expression. I don't always lounge on yachts. But you're right, this is a bit new for me. She eyed him, but her stance softened. Well, it's open to the public. We can always use an extra set of hands, though I suspect you'd prefer not to get them dirty. Oliver smirked. Actually, I came ready to volunteer if needed. I've done enough scrubbing of soot recently that a little more won't kill me. Her lips twitched. All right then. How about you help pass out pamphlets or direct families to the demonstration areas? We're short-staffed on the info booth. She gestured to a folding table manned by a single volunteer who looked overwhelmed. Consider it done, Oliver said. A sense of relief and excitement filled him, an excuse to stay, to linger near her. She nodded, leading him to the booth, instructing the volunteer to let Oliver handle the lines. The volunteer gawked, evidently recognizing him. Oliver politely assured them that yes, he was just there to help, ignoring their wide-eyed stare. For the next hour, Oliver distributed safety brochures, answered basic questions about the day's schedule, and directed parents to the kids' demonstration area or the donation table. He discovered that many folks recognized him, though some were too polite to gawk openly. A few mustered the courage to ask, "Are you that guy from the news?" He'd smile and say, "Yes, but let's talk about fire safety," swiftly redirecting focus. Between tasks, he caught glimpses of Ms. Reed, Reed, coaching teenagers on how to handle an extinguisher, demonstrating how to test fire alarms in their homes, and cracking jokes that put even the shyest participants at ease. Her passion was magnetic. He found his gaze drifting to her frequently, a warm flutter in his chest each time she laughed or shot a smile at a passing child. Eventually, she circled back to his booth, carrying a box of fresh flyers. "Need more pamphlets?" she asked, a small grin on her face. He accepted them. "Yes, thanks. We're running low." She leaned against the table, momentarily resting. "You holding up okay? This is probably more sweaty labor than you expected." He shrugged. "It's not so bad. I like feeling useful." Her eyes flicked over him as if reevaluating. "I appreciate it. My colleagues do too, even if they're starstruck." She paused, chewing her lip. "So, you're serious about wanting to do more than just watch?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Tell me what else I can do." She considered, then gestured to a stage area where a microphone was set up for small educational talks. We were supposed to give a quick talk about community support, how local businesses or individuals can help fund equipment, training, etc. Our PR person is stuck in traffic. You could fill in if you're comfortable? A mild wave of nervousness rippled in him. Public speaking about something not business-related was new territory. But the chance to do something that truly helped them overcame his hesitation. "Sure, if you trust me to speak." A flicker of a grin. "I do. Just keep it general. Let folks know how to donate or volunteer. Mention we always need more resources for gear, education programs." He nodded, adrenaline stirring. "All right, I can handle that. When do I go on?" She checked her watch. "In about 15 minutes. Good luck." He exhaled, grateful yet aware that this was ironically reminiscent of investor pitch days, but with a more heartfelt twist. As Ms. Reed walked off to handle another demonstration, he noted her confident stride and felt his admiration deepen. She was letting him step up for her station. He'd do it justice. To precisely the arranged time, Oliver ascended the small wooden stage. A modest crowd of families, onlookers, and a few bored teens gathered. He leaned into the microphone, introducing himself briefly. A ripple of surprised recognition spread through the crowd. Some realized he was the famous Oliver Harrington, but he played it down, focusing on the station's cause. He spoke earnestly about how crucial local fire stations were, how the men and women there saved lives daily, how they needed community backing for better equipment, improved training, and upgraded facilities. He shared a personal anecdote, without going into humiliating detail, about how Station 57 saved him from a kitchen mishap, underscoring the real heroism of firefighters who responded to even small fires with unwavering professionalism. The crowd listened attentively, many nodding. He wrapped up with a call to donate, volunteer, or attend future events. His concluding line, because no matter how big or small your crisis may seem, these firefighters stand ready to protect us, day in and day out, sparked applause. He stepped off stage, noticing Ms. Reed nearby. She offered a nod of approval, her lips curved in a slight smile. "Not bad," she teased. "You've got the gift of gab." Oliver grinned. "Years of pitching to investors. Glad it could help here." She parted her lips to reply, but at that moment the station's captain strode over, thanking Oliver for his speech. The captain was tall, imposing, but jovial. "We appreciate your help, Mr. Harrington. Station 57 is always strapped for funds. If you ever want to discuss a formal donation plan." Oliver nodded politely. "Of course, I'll have my philanthropic rep contact you to coordinate something sustainable." The captain beamed, clapping Oliver on the shoulder with a heavy palm that nearly made him stumble. Ms. Reed wore a faint smirk. "Careful, Captain. You'll knock him over." They laughed. Oliver rubbed his shoulder. "That's a strong handshake you've got." A phone buzzed on the captain's belt. He answered it, looking grave, then signaled Ms. Reed. "We've got a call. Small apartment fire across town. Let's move." In an instant, Ms. Reed's expression shifted to that focused, professional calm. She turned to Oliver. "We have to head out. Thank you again for everything." A flicker of something, reluctance, crossed her gaze. "I guess I'll see you around?" "Stay safe," Oliver said quietly, wishing there was time for more conversation. She nodded, gave him a swift wave, then jogged off with the captain and two other firefighters to the trucks. The engines roared, lights flashing, and they sped away, leaving behind a swirl of dust and onlookers pointing after them. Oliver stood rooted, heart pounding unexpectedly. The sense of emptiness returned. He realized that each time Ms. Reed left his presence, he yearned for her return. He'd never felt so drawn to a woman whose world was so different from his. She was pure purpose, risking her life to save others, and she seemed to shrug off fame or wealth as trivial. He exhaled, recentering himself. "We come from different worlds, but I can't ignore this spark." He was used to forging business deals. Maybe he needed a new strategy to earn Ms. Reed's attention in a more personal way. But how? She'd already turned down a direct invitation, yet a new determination flickered. He'd find a way to break through her professional walls, to show her that beyond the glamorous facade, he was just a man who admired her, and maybe, just maybe, wanted to see if something real could develop between them. 2 days later, he decided to take a bolder step. He arranged with the station's captain to drop by with a check for new gear, an official donation from his philanthropic foundation. It was an excuse to see Ms. Reed. But it was also a genuine act of support. Oliver wore a simple polo and jeans, trying not to stand out. He parked outside Station 57, stepping into the open bays where bright red fire engines gleamed. The station bustled. Some firefighters cleaned equipment, others checked hoses. The captain greeted him, beaming at the check. They took a quick photo for the station's internal newsletter, not the press. Ms. Reed, however, was nowhere in sight. Oliver's disappointment gnawed, but he tried not to show it. "You're welcome to look around," the captain said. "Station's open. I'll put this to good use, trust me." Oliver thanked him, wandering the station. He spotted the rec room, a modest lounge with worn couches and a TV. He peeked into the training room, neat rows of gear. Then he found himself near the locker area. He paused, not wanting to intrude. But a voice from behind nearly made him jump. "Looking for something?" He spun around. Ms. Reed stood there, arms folded. She wore her uniform pants and a gray t-shirt, hair pulled back. A faint flush colored her cheeks as though she'd been exercising. "Ah, sorry," he stammered. "I was just exploring. I didn't mean to invade your space." She glanced at the check envelope in his hand. "Captain told me you made a donation. Thank you." Her tone was reserved but not hostile. He exhaled, offering a smile. "I wanted to help. You guys do so much for the community." She nodded, stepping closer. "We appreciate it, truly. So, what brings you here in person? Could have mailed that check." He mustered honesty. "I was hoping to see you." Her brows arched. "Me? Why?" He hesitated, swallowing. Because I enjoy talking with you, and we didn't get much chance at the safety day. I was wondering if you'd reconsider grabbing coffee or dinner sometime. Silence pulsed. She studied his expression as if gauging sincerity. Look, I'm flattered, but I have a busy schedule, and our last conversation about dinner wasn't exactly open arms. He nodded, acknowledging her earlier pushback. I respect your time, but I'd love a chance to get to know you outside emergencies and public events. Her lips pressed together, eyes flicking to the side. You know, men have tried to ask me out after a rescue. Usually it feels like they just want a story or a fling with a hero. That's not me. Oliver's heart clenched. I'm not after a story or a fling. I genuinely admire what you do. You're strong, fearless, and real. I don't get that often in my life. A rueful chuckle escaped him. It's always business dinners, superficial meets. I want something real. She softened, letting out a slow breath. We do come from different worlds. You realize that, right? You're a billionaire. I'm a middle-class firefighter. I deal with chaos, injuries, and building fires on a daily basis. You navigate high-stakes deals. Sometimes it's tough to see a common ground. He stepped closer, voice low. We both believe in helping people, don't we? We both tackle pressure in our own ways. Let me prove we can bridge the gap. A faint smile tugged at her lips. You're persistent. He dipped his head. I can be, yes, but I'll back off if you're truly uncomfortable. I won't push you. He held her gaze. Just give me a chance. She let silence linger, then finally sighed. One coffee. That's it. We talk. If it's weird, we can call it quits, okay? His grin bloomed, relief flooding him. Deal. Just name the time and place. She rubbed the back of her neck. All right, I'm off shift tomorrow evening. There's a small cafe near the station, Bean and Bran, around 7. He nodded enthusiastically. Yes, perfect. She gave a tiny laugh at his eagerness. Okay, Harrington, we'll see if you can handle a normal conversation without talk of board meetings or extinguishers. She teased lightly. He grinned. Challenge accepted. With that, she gave him a nod, turning to walk away. Gotta get back to training. See you tomorrow. He watched her retreating figure, a surge of triumph mixing with nerves. Tomorrow, an actual date. Or at least a coffee meetup. The unstoppable Ms. Reed had agreed. Maybe he was playing with fire in more ways than one, but never had a risk seemed more worth taking. The next evening, Oliver arrived at Bean and Bran a few minutes early, heart fluttering with anticipation. The cafe was cozy, rustic wooden tables, warm overhead lights, shelves lined with coffee beans from around the world. Soft acoustic music drifted through the air, blending with the hiss of the espresso machine. He chose a corner table, ordering an Americano for himself and waiting. The barista gave him a curious glance, perhaps recognizing him from tabloids, but said nothing. Oliver appreciated the relative anonymity. At exactly 7 p.m., Ms. Reed walked in, wearing dark jeans, a casual olive green blouse, and sneakers. Her hair was out of its usual ponytail, falling in loose waves. She scanned the cafe, spotting him with a small nod. He stood, greeting her with a polite smile. Hey, she said softly, sliding into the seat opposite him. I'm not late, am I? Right on time, he assured. And I'm guessing you might have had a shift earlier? She shrugged, placing her phone on the table. Morning shift ended at 3. Then I caught a quick nap, so I'm awake enough to meet you. A half smile. You, on the other hand, probably spent the day closing multi-million-dollar deals? He chuckled. Guilty. Actually, it was a product launch call, but you don't want the boring details. Boring or complicated, she teased, the tension easing. Oliver motioned to the cafe. Order whatever you'd like, my treat. She arched a brow. No $1,000,000 cappuccinos here, I hope? He laughed. No, I doubt it. She rose to the counter, returning shortly with a latte and a small pastry. Figured I'd treat myself, she said, nibbling the pastry. I can burn off the calories at tomorrow's training. He sipped his Americano, marveling at how normal this felt. He wasn't flanked by security or sycophants, just a man on a date with a woman who enthralled him. So, can I finally know your first name, Ms. Reed? She blinked, then chuckled. Right, I never told you. It's Amelia. She offered her hand playfully across the table. Amelia Reed. He shook it gently, the corner of his lips curving. Amelia, a lovely name, suits you. She shrugged, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Thanks, my friends call me Mel, but I prefer Amelia. All right, Amelia, I'm Oliver, though I guess you already knew that. She laughed softly. Yes, the entire world knows you as Oliver Harrington, the unstoppable tech magnate. She emphasized the phrase with mock grandeur. But I'll just call you Oliver, if that's okay? He nodded, amused. Please do. So how did you end up in firefighting? A spark lit her eyes. She described growing up in a family of first responders. Her dad was a paramedic, her uncle a firefighter. She admired their bravery, wanted to do something active and meaningful. She admitted the challenges: grueling hours, constant physical training, life-threatening calls. But she found purpose in saving lives, in the camaraderie of the crew. Oliver listened intently, enthralled by her passion. That's incredible. I can see how your fearlessness shaped you, she shrugged. I'm not fearless. I get scared all the time. But training helps you push through. She sipped her latte, flipping the conversation. And you, always wanted to be a tech mogul? He let out a small sigh. Not exactly. I was a geeky kid, obsessed with computers, coding. I launched a startup in college. It took off in ways I never predicted. Next thing I knew, I was building an empire. It's been a whirlwind. She eyed him thoughtfully. Do you ever miss normalcy? Like not living under paparazzi watch? He nodded, a note of weariness creeping into his voice. Yes, constantly. That's partly why the cooking fiasco was me trying to do something normal for once, ironically. But it backfired quite spectacularly. He laughed at himself. Lucky for me, you came to the rescue. Amelia's lips quirked. Yeah, sorry if I was a bit blunt that night. Stress of the job. He shook his head. I liked your bluntness. It was refreshing, and I'm grateful you didn't let me burn my penthouse down. A comfortable silence settled, each absorbing the other's words. He noticed the faint swirl of latte foam on her lip. Before he could comment, she wiped it away, glancing shyly. So, it's nice talking to you like this, without flames or speeches. He nodded, leaning in slightly. Yes, it is. Time flowed easily, the conversation winding through random topics. Favorite foods? She teased him about cooking. Travel anecdotes. She'd never been abroad. He offered to show her Europe someday, prompting a wary grin. Childhood memories. They discovered they shared a love for outdoor hiking, though her schedule made it tough. He promised to find a scenic trail they could explore if she was open to it. Eventually, the cafe approached closing time. They stepped outside into the gentle city lights, reluctant to part. She hesitated by the sidewalk, arms crossed lightly. Thank you for tonight. I wasn't sure about this, but I'm glad I came. He gave a warm smile, heart fluttering. Me too. This was one of the best evenings I've had in a while. She brushed a strand of hair from her face. You're different from how I pictured a billionaire might be, he chuckled. I'll take that as a compliment. She laughed softly, stepping closer. The hush of the street enclosed them. It was. So maybe we can do this again? He exhaled, relieved. Absolutely. Dinner, a walk, anything. She nodded, rummaging in her jacket pocket for her phone. I can text you my shift schedule. We can figure out a time that won't get interrupted by a siren. He smirked. Yes, though if I must, I'll tag along to the station. She laughed, bright and musical. A moment of shared mirth, then they locked eyes. Impulse nudged him and he leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her cheek. Her breath caught, eyes widening, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she tilted her head, meeting his gaze. Then she whispered, You can do better than that, Harrington. A wave of adrenaline soared in him. He slid an arm around her waist, gently drawing her in. Their lips met in a tender, lingering kiss that held a promise of more. No fire alarms, no onlookers, just them. She tasted of latte sweetness, and the warmth of her body against his made his heart pound. When they parted, her cheeks were flushed, a dreamy half-smile on her lips. She whispered, You're not so bad in real life, billionaire boy. He grinned. You're the one, igniting sparks, Miss Firefighter. She chuckled, stepping back. Careful, or you'll need me to extinguish another blaze. A laugh rumbled in his chest. Might be worth it. They shared a final smirk, then parted ways, each heading to their respective cars. Oliver's mind buzzed with a giddy sense of possibility. This was more than a whimsical crush. Her straightforward spirit lit a flame inside him that refused to die. He had a feeling that the real conflagration was just beginning. Oliver and Amelia fell into an impromptu dating routine, each free evening or weekend carved out from their hectic schedules. They ventured on low-key outings, sometimes dinner at hidden neighborhood restaurants, sometimes strolling along the waterfront discussing life goals. Amelia introduced him to local hole-in-the-wall diners with the best burgers, and he treated her to after-hours VIP tours of art museums or private gardens he had connections to. Despite the stark differences in their lifestyles, they found themselves gravitating toward each other's worlds, sharing laughter, empathy, and genuine curiosity. In return, Oliver offered her a peek into the philanthropic side of his empire, revealing how deeply he cared about giving back. Yes, he was wealthy, but he was also driven to make a difference, whether funding education programs or hospital wings. Amelia found herself admiring that about him. He wasn't just a playboy flaunting money. He had a conscience, a passion for more than profit. One evening, they found themselves tucked away in a cozy little restaurant specializing in homemade pastas. The aroma of fresh basil and garlic filled the air. Amelia was off duty, wearing jeans and a snug sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. Oliver, similarly dressed down in a simple navy pullover, studied her with amused affection as she twisted linguine around her fork. "You know," Amelia mused between bites, "I was prepared to believe you were all about boardrooms and private jets, but you keep surprising me." Oliver leaned forward, sipping his wine. "In a good way, I hope?" She smiled, eyes sparkling in the low candlelight. "Yes, in a good way. You're more grounded than I expected. And I love hearing about your charity initiatives. Sometimes I forget billionaires can be philanthropic in a personal way, not just for a tax write-off." He chuckled softly. "Well, I won't say taxes don't matter, but that's not why I do it. My parents taught me early on that if you can help, you should. Otherwise, what's the point of success?" Amelia studied him thoughtfully. "I like that perspective." He reached across the table, lacing his fingers through hers. "You're the real hero, though. You don't just write checks. You charge into burning buildings. I'm humbled by that." She shrugged, warmth filling her cheeks. "I'm just doing my job. But thanks." They lingered over dessert, tiramisu rich with espresso flavor, laughing about their families. Oliver recounted how his grandmother had tried to teach him to bake as a child, but he'd burned cookies so badly they set off the smoke alarm. "Apparently, I never outgrew that flaw," he joked, winking. Amelia snickered, wiping her mouth. "You really do need cooking lessons. Maybe I should give you some pointers, at least enough to boil pasta without burning the place down." He held up his hands in surrender. "I'm open to instruction. Just don't scold me too harshly." "Deal," she teased, her eyes bright. They left the restaurant in comfortable companionship, strolling hand in hand beneath the dim glow of street lamps. A crisp breeze swept through the city, and Amelia curled closer to Oliver for warmth. He slipped an arm around her shoulders, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. In that moment, the divide between billionaire mogul and dedicated firefighter felt insignificant. But not everyone viewed their relationship so simply. Paparazzi occasionally snapped photos of them around town. Amelia found it jarring to see her own face splashed on gossip sites, alongside headlines speculating about the firefighter dating the city's most eligible billionaire. She tried to brush it off, but it ate at her. Could she really handle being in the public eye? Oliver sensed her discomfort and tried to shield her when possible, using private exits, quiet corners of the city. Yet the rumor mill churned. Some of Amelia's colleagues teased her good-naturedly, others questioned her motives. "Are you sure he's not just slumming it for a thrill?" one coworker asked. Amelia bristled at the insinuation, but it planted seeds of insecurity. On Oliver's side, business associates raised eyebrows. "A firefighter, Oliver? That's unusual," said a board member over lunch. "Are you certain she's not after your money?" Oliver's jaw tightened, retorting that Amelia was far too proud to ask him for a dime, and their personal life was none of the board's business. Thus, small tensions bubbled beneath the surface. Neither Oliver nor Amelia fully confronted it, hoping that their feelings for each other would transcend such mundane concerns. But life had a way of testing that hope. One afternoon, Amelia's station responded to a massive warehouse fire on the city's outskirts. The blaze raged fiercely, threatening to collapse the structure. Oliver heard about it on the news, recognized the district as Station 57's responsibility, and felt panic knot his stomach. He texted Amelia, no response. Hours passed with no word. He knew better than to call her during an operation. Her phone would be stashed away. But he couldn't quell the dread. Finally, near midnight, a text pinged his phone. "I'm okay, just exhausted, heading back to station." Relief coursed through him. He typed back, "Thank goodness. Can I see you? Bring you some food?" She responded that she'd appreciate some takeout, so he hurried to a 24-hour sandwich shop, placing a generous order for the entire crew. Then he drove to the station, heart pounding. When he arrived, the firefighters looked worn and soot-stained, their eyes bleary with fatigue. Amelia emerged from the locker room, hair damp from a quick shower, face drawn, but her expression brightened at the sight of Oliver with his arms full of sandwich bags. "You didn't have to do that," she said, though her smile revealed gratitude. He shrugged, handing her a bag. "I wanted to. Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No, just drained. The warehouse was brutal, but we contained it. No serious injuries among civilians or the crew." She paused, glancing around at her colleagues, who were now eagerly grabbing food from Oliver's offering. "Thanks for feeding everyone." Oliver nodded, stepping closer, lowering his voice. "My pleasure. I was worried about you." Amelia exhaled, leaning into his quiet concern. "It was intense. We had to smash through some walls. The smoke was thick. Moments like that remind me how fragile life is. Anything can happen in a flash." He slipped an arm around her waist, mindful of her environment. He knew public displays of affection in the station were tricky, but she allowed it, resting her forehead against his chest. "You're so brave," he murmured. She shivered from fatigue or emotion, he couldn't tell. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm pushing my luck, but this is the job I chose." He kissed the top of her head. "I admire you more than I can say. Just promise me you'll be careful." A ghost of a smile curved her lips. "I'll try, but I can't promise no more danger. Fires happen." He nodded, accepting the reality. "I know." For a moment, they simply stood together in the station's hallway, the hum of post-adrenaline chatter around them. Oliver felt a rush of protectiveness. He could finance entire fleets of trucks, donate to advanced safety gear, but he couldn't truly shield Amelia from the inherent risks of her calling. Amelia gently pulled back, smoothing her hair. "I need to finish some reports, then I'm off shift. Want to wait for me? We can go to my place. Just crash. I'm too exhausted for more than that." He caressed her cheek. "Anything you need." She offered a tired but genuine grin. "Stay put, I'll be quick." In that soft exchange, the depth of their connection shone. They might be from different worlds, but each found solace in the other's presence. As Amelia completed her paperwork, Oliver chatted politely with a few firefighters. They ribbed him for lacking any cooking prowess. He took it in stride, good-natured, because he knew it was their way of accepting him into their circle, if only briefly. Eventually, Amelia returned, grabbed her duffel bag, and led Oliver to her beat-up truck in the station lot. He followed her home, where she sank onto the couch, eyes heavy. He gently massaged her shoulders, coaxing her to rest. She fell asleep nestled against him, lulled by the quiet hush of early morning. Oliver dozed off as well, feeling more at peace on that worn couch with Amelia in his arms than in any penthouse suite alone. They woke hours later to bright sunlight streaming through the curtains, Amelia's phone buzzing with shift updates. The day off beckoned, but so did adult responsibilities. Oliver had to attend a meeting. Amelia needed to catch up on laundry and errands. Their lives pulled them apart again. But now they knew they could always come back to each other. More weeks passed, each bringing them closer. Oliver invited Amelia to a small charity gala, anxious about how she'd react to the pomp. She agreed, albeit warily. The night of the gala, she appeared in a simple yet elegant black dress, her hair swept up. Oliver's breath caught. She looked stunning, though he could see she felt out of place amid the swirling tuxedos and champagne flutes. He stayed by her side, introducing her to key figures, emphasizing her accomplishments as a firefighter whenever haughty socialites made patronizing remarks. To his relief, Amelia held her own with a calm dignity, politely brushing off condescending questions. By evening's end, she was winning over hearts with her sincerity, leaving Oliver's usual circle of acquaintances mildly smitten by the feisty firefighter. Still, in the limo ride home, Amelia exhaled a deep sigh of relief. Wow, that was intense. I had no idea a charity event could feel like a pressure cooker. Oliver rubbed her hands soothingly. Thank you for enduring it. You handled it beautifully. She grimaced playfully. Barely. I kept imagining how those women would react if they had to suit up and drag a hose into a burning building. That gave me some confidence. He laughed softly, adoration shining in his eyes. You're amazing, Amelia Reed. She rolled her eyes, but a smile tugged at her lips. Maybe, but I'm still not used to that world. I prefer yours when it's just us, no cameras. Oliver nodded, his thumb grazing her knuckles. Me too. If I could, I'd leave the cameras behind for good. But they both knew that his high-profile life wouldn't vanish. The question was, could they find a balance that allowed them to thrive as a couple? Despite their growing closeness, an undercurrent of tension remained. While the smaller challenges, tabloids, schedule conflicts were manageable, deeper insecurities began to surface. Amelia sometimes felt like she was living in Oliver's shadow. She worried that people saw her as a novelty or gold digger. Oliver, in turn, felt a nagging fear each time Amelia rushed off to a perilous call. He wanted to protect her, but he couldn't. The simmering issues reached a boiling point one weekend, triggered by a seemingly trivial matter. Amelia was assigned a multi-day training course in a neighboring city. Live fire drills, advanced rescue techniques. She was excited to hone her skills, but it meant they'd be apart for several days. Oliver had been planning a surprise weekend getaway to celebrate her upcoming birthday, an exclusive villa he'd rented for them. He'd even arranged for private cooking lessons with a renowned chef, hoping to amuse Amelia with his willingness to learn. When he revealed the plan, Amelia winced. That sounds amazing, but I already committed to this training. It's mandatory. I'm sorry. Disappointment flickered in Oliver's eyes. Oh, I didn't realize. Is there any way to reschedule? The booking is non-refundable. And, Oliver, I can't just reschedule training, she said gently but firmly. And birthdays aren't a big deal to me. We can celebrate another time. He tried to hide his frustration. Right, of course. I guess I wanted to do something special. She softened, touching his cheek. I appreciate it, really. But my job always comes first, he finished, a trace of bitterness creeping into his tone despite himself. She frowned. That's not fair. You know I love my job, but it's not like I'm choosing it over you. This is part of who I am. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling. I know, it's just sometimes it feels like we can't fully plan anything because you might get called in, or you have mandatory trainings. Meanwhile, I'm juggling my own obligations, and she folded her arms. This was bound to happen, right? We have demanding careers. It's not easy. Emotions flared. No, it's not, he agreed, voice quieter. Sometimes I worry that I'll always be taking second place to your station. Hurt flashed in her eyes. That's not true, and I could say the same about your business. How many times have you been pulled into emergency meetings overseas, or extended conference calls that eat up entire weekends? He opened his mouth to retort, but realized she was right. They stared at each other, tension thick. Finally, Amelia sighed, dropping her gaze. We shouldn't argue about this. Our schedules suck sometimes, but we knew that going in. Oliver stepped forward, reaching for her hand. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm just disappointed. I wanted to give you something special, show you how much I... He hesitated, swallowing back the word that loomed. Love. They hadn't said it yet. She smiled faintly. I get it. And I wish I could snap my fingers and be free that weekend, but I can't. Let's do something small when I'm back. A quiet dinner, or maybe you can show off the new cooking skills you're dying to learn. He mustered a small chuckle. You might regret encouraging that. My cooking track record is catastrophic. Then maybe I'll teach you something simpler, she teased, stepping closer to rest her head on his shoulder. I hate fighting with you. Let's not. He wrapped his arms around her, inhaling her familiar scent. Deal. We'll figure this out. In that moment, they reached a fragile truce, but the underlying strain remained. Love alone might not fix everything if they couldn't compromise. For now, though, they tucked away the worry and focused on the warmth of each other's embrace. As Amelia's training week approached, Oliver immersed himself in a flurry of meetings. A major acquisition deal was in the works. He'd be traveling out of state to finalize negotiations. Their phone calls grew briefer, overshadowed by exhaustion. Amelia spent her days battling simulated fires, practicing advanced rescue scenarios. Nights in her hotel room offered little reprieve, her muscles aching and her mind buzzing. Oliver, in a plush suite across the country, felt the distance acutely. He shot off messages. Miss you. Good luck tomorrow. Wish I could hold you right now. Amelia replied when she could, but they both recognized an emotional gap forming. The friction from their last disagreement lingered in the background. One evening, after a grueling day, Amelia turned on the local news in her hotel, only to see a paparazzi video of Oliver stepping out of a flashy nightclub in another city, flanked by colleagues and a few socialites. The reporter speculated about who the glamorous woman on his arm might be, blonde, elegant, seemingly laughing with him. Amelia's stomach twisted. She trusted Oliver, but seeing him with another woman in the tabloids raked up insecurities. She texted him, "Saw you on the news. Everything okay?" He didn't respond until hours later. "Work function, ended up at a club. Nothing serious. Sorry if it looked bad. Call you tomorrow?" She sighed, telling herself to have faith, but doubt gnawed, compounding her fatigue. The next day, in between training drills, Amelia overheard snickers from a couple of the guys who recognized her from an online gossip photo. "Is that Harrington's new fling?" someone murmured. Her temper sparked, though she forced herself to focus on training, not petty commentary. On Oliver's side, the negotiations dragged on. Late nights with the acquisition team demanded corporate dinners, sometimes culminating in after-parties he couldn't politely skip. His business partners insisted on entertaining wealthy investors, including that blonde socialite who'd been spotted with him. She flirted shamelessly, apparently not caring he was taken. Oliver felt trapped by social obligations, desperate to conclude the deal and escape home to Amelia. But each day, another event seemed mandatory. He worried how Amelia perceived the swirling gossip. Then, everything changed with a phone call from Amelia's sister. Oliver had just returned to his hotel suite near midnight when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something compelled him to answer. The frantic voice identified herself as Becca, Amelia's younger sister. "Oliver? Sorry to call, but I didn't know who else to reach. Amelia's in the hospital." The words slammed into him. "What? Why? What happened?" Becca's voice shook. She was in a training accident, something about a flashover simulation going wrong. She inhaled too much smoke, collapsed. They took her to the local ER. "It's not life-threatening, but, Oliver, I'm scared." Oliver's vision tunneled. In a heartbeat, he was rushing to pack a bag, demanding details. "Which hospital? I'm on my way." He dropped everything, negotiations, business obligations, and booked the first flight out, heart thundering in his chest. He arrived at the small hospital hours later, disheveled and terrified. A nurse directed him to Amelia's room, where her sister paced outside. Becca recognized Oliver from pictures Amelia had shown, and from the tabloids. She looked relieved. "She's stable, but still on oxygen. The doctors say she'll recover, but they want to observe her." Oliver exhaled, chest tight with guilt. "Thank God. Can I see her?" Becca nodded, leading him inside. Amelia lay in a hospital bed, IVs attached, an oxygen mask covering her nose and mouth. Her eyes fluttered open at the sound of footsteps. Oliver approached cautiously, every nerve in his body thrumming with concern. She managed a tired smile, lifting the mask. "Hey, you." He crouched by her bedside, taking her hand. "Hey, you had me scared to death." Her voice rasped. "Sorry." The simulation turned into a real flashover. Heat soared. We had to bail. I inhaled a bunch of smoke. They say I'll be fine, just need rest. Oliver's gaze flicked over the bandage on her wrist, bruises on her arms. "Any other injuries?" She shook her head. "No, minor scrapes, mostly smoke inhalation." Her sister hovered by the door, giving them space but clearly worried. Oliver pressed Amelia's hand to his lips, relief and fear swirling. "I should have been there." "Don't blame yourself," she murmured. "You had your own responsibilities." He shook his head, jaw clenched. "If you needed me, I'd drop everything." His eyes glistened. "I almost lost you before we even got a chance to figure out us." She squeezed his hand weakly. "You didn't lose me. I'm stubborn, remember?" A strangled laugh escaped him. "Yes, you are." They shared a tender moment. Becca quietly slipped out. Amelia insisted Oliver get some rest, but he refused to leave her side. He spent the night in an uncomfortable chair, dozing sporadically, jolting awake each time a nurse entered to check vitals. By morning, doctors confirmed her condition was improving. She just needed a few more days of observation. Amelia tried to joke with Oliver, but he was subdued, clearly shaken. They both sensed a deeper reckoning at hand. Her job wasn't just demanding, it was deadly. Later, while Amelia rested, Oliver stepped into the hallway, phone in hand. He stared at the unanswered calls from his CFO, the urgent texts from the acquisition team. After a pause, he texted them back. "I'm staying here. I don't care if the deal falls through. My place is with Amelia." He meant it. If it came down to a choice, he'd choose her. He'd built an empire, yes, but what good was any of it if he lost the woman who'd ignited a deeper fire in his soul? Even as he typed, he felt a sense of liberation. Maybe, for once, putting love over business was the right call. Unexpected visitors arrived that afternoon. Amelia's captain and a few crew members from the station. They brought flowers, jokes, and supportive hugs. Oliver watched the camaraderie with awe. These were her people, her second family. The captain clapped Oliver on the shoulder, quietly expressing gratitude for Oliver's presence. "She's tough, but we're glad she's got someone to lean on." Over the next couple of days, Amelia improved rapidly, yearning to be discharged. Oliver fussed over her, ensuring she had the best care. She rolled her eyes, calling him overprotective, but there was affection beneath her teasing. On the third day, the doctor cleared her to go home, prescribing rest and follow-up checks. Oliver helped gather her belongings, determined to take her back to his penthouse where he could pamper her. But she shook her head. "I want to go to my apartment, Oliver, my own bed." He faltered. "But you'll be alone." "I'm not an invalid," she said gently. "You can stay if you want, but I need to be in my own space." He nodded, understanding. So they returned to Amelia's modest apartment. He cooked simple meals with her strict supervision, fluffed her pillows, insisted she not climb stairs without him. She found it both endearing and slightly stifling. Once. One afternoon, while she rested, Oliver took a phone call on her balcony. He returned, face grim. "It's my CFO," he began. "The acquisition, it's at risk. If I don't fly back tomorrow to finalize the terms, it might collapse." Amelia took his hand, searching his expression. "Then go. You've worked too hard on this." His eyes flickered with conflict. "But I want to take care of you." She mustered a reassuring smile. "I'm healing. I'll be okay. My sister and my crew can check in. This is important for you, Oliver." He exhaled, warring with himself. "Are you sure?" She nodded firmly. "Yes, you're not abandoning me." Her sincerity calmed him. They shared a lingering kiss, hearts heavy but resolved. If their relationship meant anything, it meant supporting each other's calls of duty. So the next day, Oliver flew out, sealing the acquisition with brilliant negotiations that stunned the business world. Yet even amid the triumphant boardroom applause, his thoughts lingered on Amelia. When Oliver returned a week later, the tension around them had softened, replaced by a resolute tenderness. Amelia's injuries were healing, and she'd be cleared for light duty soon. Their schedules remained chaotic, but they'd reached a mutual understanding. They would do whatever it took to make things work, even if it meant sacrificing some personal or professional comfort. They spent quiet evenings in her apartment, cooking simple dinners. Amelia guided Oliver through basic recipes: pasta sauces, chicken stir-fries, grilled salmon. He endured her teasing with good humor. Slowly, he improved. One night, they managed a passable risotto, though it took them 3 tries not to burn it. They ended up laughing hysterically on the kitchen floor, covered in stray grains of rice. Between those domestic moments, they tackled bigger conversations. Oliver broached the topic of living arrangements, but Amelia hesitated. She liked her independence, wasn't ready to move into a penthouse overshadowed by staff and constant media attention. Oliver respected that. For now, they'd keep 2 separate places, bridging them with care and compromise. She also confessed her lingering insecurities about paparazzi and the perception that she was a gold-digging firefighter. Oliver promised to handle press more discreetly, instructing his PR team to let them live their private life in peace. He even confronted a tabloid editor who was known to spin rumors, threatening legal action if they harassed Amelia. The headlines cooled. In time, Station 57 got used to seeing Oliver drop by with coffee or morale-boosting donations. The crew ribbed him affectionately. Amelia's sister teased that the billionaire was whipped, but in truth, Oliver found happiness in the normal, everyday aspects of being with Amelia. He started to realize that while he once sought adrenaline in massive business deals, he found deeper fulfillment in small acts of devotion, like ensuring Amelia had a ride home after a long shift or surprising her with fresh flowers on her doorstep. Months passed in a steady rhythm. Oliver's new acquisition flourished. Amelia excelled at her station, and they navigated their unusual relationship with a mixture of stubborn resolve and heartfelt devotion. Then another crisis loomed, this time not from cooking mishaps or training accidents, but from a philanthropic angle. Oliver had always supported philanthropic causes, especially first responders. But after meeting Amelia, he felt even more compelled to help. He proposed building a new state-of-the-art fire training facility, offering advanced simulators to reduce the risk of training accidents like the one Amelia faced. He planned to donate a significant sum, partner with the city council, and dedicate it to Station 57's heroism. It was a grand gesture, widely praised. But the city council had its own agenda, bureaucratic red tape, competing interests, and there were whispers that Oliver was only doing this to curry public favor or to overshadow other donors. Some powerful local politicians felt threatened by his direct approach. When word got back to Amelia, she felt uneasy. "It's a great idea in theory," she told Oliver over dinner at her place, "but are you sure you're not pushing it just for me?" He shook his head adamantly. "I'm doing it for all firefighters. But yes, you inspired it. That's not a bad thing," she sighed. "I appreciate it, Oliver, but I'm worried about how my station will react. I don't want them thinking I asked you to funnel millions into a fancy new facility. We're proud to do our jobs with what we have." He frowned. "Is it pride, or are you worried about public perception?" "A bit of both," she admitted. "I don't want Station 57 singled out, made to look like we're your personal pet project." He reached for her hand. "I get it, but think about how many lives this facility could save, not just for your station, but citywide, maybe statewide if we expand." She studied him, torn. "I know your heart's in the right place. I'm just not sure if it's the right approach. These things usually go through official channels, budgets, grants, city planning. You might upset the established system." He shrugged, a hint of impatience creeping in. "Established system? That's never stopped me in business. If the system is slow or ineffective, I find a way around it." She cast him a cautious look. "But this isn't just business. It's municipal services, public safety. We rely on government support, taxes, policies. You can't just bulldoze in with a check." Frustration flickered in Oliver's eyes. "So what do you suggest? Doing nothing?" She bit her lip. "No, I'm not saying that. We can work with the city, follow protocols. The donation is great, but you might have to be patient." He exhaled. "Patience has never been my strong suit. But for you, okay, I'll try. I'll talk with the mayor, see if we can do it by the book." She smiled, relieved. "Thank you. I'm proud of you for wanting to help. Just handle it carefully." He nodded, pulling her close for a gentle kiss. "I'll do my best." In the following weeks, Oliver engaged with city officials, drafting proposals. Amelia occasionally offered insights on departmental needs, but tensions arose when certain council members demanded lengthy studies, planning committees, feasibility reports. Oliver's frustration grew. He wasn't used to snail-paced bureaucracy. One councilman, rumored to be eyeing a mayoral run, publicly criticized Oliver's plan as a vanity project. The media pounced, fueling the notion that this was an ego-driven move by a billionaire seeking good PR. Soon, Amelia found herself fielding pointed questions from superiors. Did she endorse Oliver's plan? Was she the reason he was circumventing normal approval channels? She felt cornered, having to defend both Oliver's motives and her own independence. The strain began to creep into their relationship. Amelia pleaded with Oliver to slow down, but he chafed under the delays. They argued late into the night about the best approach. She accused him of ignoring local input. He accused her of not believing in his philanthropic vision. Harsh words were exchanged, quickly regretted. One day, Amelia's captain pulled her aside. "Reed, the chief wants to know if you're pushing Harrington to steamroll the city." "I told him no, but the rumor mill is spinning." Amelia groaned. "I'm not pushing anything. Oliver's unstoppable once he sets his mind to something. The captain nodded sympathetically. We appreciate his heart's in the right place, but you might want to tell him to let the city handle its own affairs. We don't want to be scapegoated if it goes south. Amelia left the conversation feeling caught between loyalty to her station and love for Oliver. That evening, she visited Oliver's penthouse for the first time in weeks. Usually, she preferred her place, but she needed privacy to talk. She found him in his study, hunched over a laptop, phone pressed to his ear, presumably dealing with a contractor or city official. He ended the call as she approached, tension etched on his face. He forced a smile. "Hey, I'm glad you're here." She perched on the edge of his desk, arms crossed. "We need to talk." Oliver sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, the city is being ridiculous. They want me to wait another 6 months just for an environmental impact report on the facility site. Meanwhile, firefighters are training in outdated conditions." "Oliver," she interrupted gently, "I understand your frustration, but this is how government processes work. We can't just throw money at it and skip the steps." He bristled. "I'm not skipping, I'm trying to expedite. People's lives are at stake." She took a calming breath. "Look, I want the new facility too, but you're alienating the very people you need on your side. You're making them defensive." He stood abruptly, pacing. "Maybe they need to be shaken up. Maybe that's the only way we get real change. All this bureaucracy is lethal in the business world." "This isn't strictly business," she repeated, voice taut. "These are elected officials, public funds, union contracts. It's not the same as acquiring a tech startup." He turned to face her, eyes flashing with a mix of passion and exasperation. "I'm doing this for you," she stiffened. "For me? No. Do it for the firefighters in general, do it for the community. But don't put this on my shoulders. I never asked you to start a crusade in my name." He froze, guilt and hurt warring on his features. I wanted to keep you safe, save others from the risk you took. Is that so wrong?" Her heart softened at his earnestness. She cupped his face, meeting his troubled gaze. "It's not wrong, Oliver. It's sweet. But you can't bulldoze everything in your path. Our city has its own pace, and you need to respect that." He closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. "I hear you. I hate feeling powerless. When I saw you in that hospital bed, I promised myself I'd never let that happen again." She blinked back tears. "You can't control everything. I chose this career, knowing the risks. I need you to accept that." He exhaled shakily, then nodded. "I'll try." They sank onto the sofa, leaning into each other. The magnitude of the conflict weighed on them. Eventually, Oliver admitted he'd stepped back from aggressive lobbying. He'd let the city do their due diligence, while still offering financial support. Amelia agreed to help coordinate a more collaborative approach with her department. They sealed the fragile agreement with a tentative kiss, hoping it would hold. Eager to mend fences and show Amelia he could adapt, Oliver planned a quiet surprise that weekend. He asked her to come by his penthouse one evening, promising no paparazzi, no staff. "Just us," he said, "and bring an appetite." She arrived to find the penthouse kitchen meticulously set up. Fresh ingredients lined the counters, a recipe book laid open. Oliver stood in an apron, grinned sheepish but determined. "I'm making dinner. Actually making it, not burning it, or so I hope." Amelia's eyes widened with mock skepticism. "Should I call the fire department now or wait until the alarms go off?" He shot her a mock glare. "Very funny. I've been practicing, you know. I might surprise you." She smiled, stepping closer to examine the recipe. Homemade pizza with gourmet toppings, plus a side salad. "Ambitious. You sure you can handle that?" He exhaled theatrically. "I have to try. Come on, Chef Amelia. Supervise me, but let me do the work. I want to show you I can learn." They dove in. Oliver kneaded dough, carefully measuring flour and yeast. Amelia guided him with pointers, occasionally stepping in to prevent disasters. Flour dusted the marble counters, drifting onto Oliver's cheeks. Amelia giggled, wiping it off with her thumb. He stole a quick kiss in return, smearing dough on her arm. Despite a few stumbles, like Oliver nearly forgetting to add salt, the process felt surprisingly smooth. They laughed, teased, and connected in a way that eased the tensions of the past weeks. Soon, the pizza was in the oven, its aroma filling the penthouse. Amelia set the table, noting the bouquet of fresh lilies in a vase, her favorite flowers. She felt touched by his thoughtfulness. When the timer dinged, Oliver pulled out the pizza, golden cheese bubbling with roasted vegetables. Amelia marveled. "That looks actually delicious," he grinned, proud. "You doubted me?" "Yes," she said bluntly, but her eyes shone with affection. They dished up slices, sampling the crisp crust and flavorful toppings. It was good. Perhaps not five-star, but a testament to Oliver's growing skill. He beamed at her praise, relief evident in his posture. Over dinner, they talked about their shared future. Oliver mentioned possibly scaling back certain expansions to focus on philanthropic projects that integrated more harmoniously with local authorities. Amelia confided her desire to rise in the ranks at the station, maybe become a lieutenant someday. They realized they could support each other's ambitions if they communicated openly, respecting each other's worlds. After the meal, they settled on the couch, a gentle hush enveloping them. Amelia leaned against Oliver's chest, content. He stroked her hair softly. "We've come a long way from a burnt paella disaster," he said, voice tinged with humor and nostalgia. She laughed. "It all started with that fire, and I never imagined it'd lead here." Oliver's heart pounded, and he slipped a hand into his pocket, fingers brushing a small velvet box hidden there. He hesitated, uncertain if it was too soon. They'd weathered storms, but was that enough time for a forever commitment? Doubt gnawed at him, but love burned stronger. He could wait, or he could trust in what they'd built. Amelia sensed his tension, lifting her head. "Everything okay?" He swallowed, gathering courage. "There's something I want to show you." He pulled the box from his pocket, flipping it open to reveal a glittering ring. Amelia's breath caught. "Oliver," she whispered, eyes wide. He carefully took her hand, heart hammering. "Amelia Reed, you rushed into my life with an extinguisher and a fearless spirit that lit my world on fire. You make me want to be better, to do more than just make money. You make me want to protect, to build, to love wholeheartedly. I don't want to wait anymore to tell you how I feel." Tears glistened in her eyes as he continued. "Will you marry me? We can find a way to balance our lives. I promise. I just know I don't want a future without you." A wave of emotion surged through Amelia. She recalled the first night they met, the swirling smoke and panic, the spark of intrigue that followed. Their journey had been messy, challenging, but through it all, she felt a profound connection to this man. He wasn't perfect, but neither was she. Together, they were stronger. She blinked back tears, her lips curving into a trembling smile. "Yes," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Oliver, I'll marry you." Relief and joy flooded him. He slipped the ring onto her finger, then leaned in for a kiss that felt like a promise of forever. She clung to him, tears wet on her cheeks, laughter bubbling up in a swirl of astonished happiness. The roaring blaze of their early days had settled into a steady flame of devotion, one that ignited both their hearts in ways neither had ever imagined. Their engagement made waves in the tabloids. "Billionaire and Firefighter tie the knot," screamed the headlines. But this time, Amelia found she could handle the spotlight because it illuminated a love she believed in. They announced plans to marry in a small ceremony. Family, close friends, and Station 57's crew. Oliver's business empire carried on, with him occasionally stepping out of the boardroom to push philanthropic projects, albeit with more patience and tact. Amelia continued her firefighting career, eventually earning a promotion that recognized her skill and leadership. Construction on the new training facility eventually moved forward, after countless city council meetings, environmental studies, and joint fundraising efforts. It took time, but the result was a well-planned modern center that served multiple fire stations. When it officially opened, Amelia cut the ribbon alongside city officials, Oliver at her side. Though some still whispered about the billionaire's involvement, the majority recognized the immense value it brought. Oliver learned to cook passable meals, though Amelia still joked that they needed a backup extinguisher nearby. She occasionally let him help with chores around her apartment, even if she teased him relentlessly for not knowing how to properly fold fitted sheets. For his part, Oliver taught her the intricacies of global philanthropy, connecting her with communities that could benefit from her insights on emergency response. Their wedding day dawned clear and bright. Amelia wore a simple yet elegant gown, her hair pulled back with a few loose curls framing her face. Oliver, dashing in a tailored suit, watched her walk down the aisle, heart overflowing. They exchanged vows that spoke of trust, compromise, and a love forged through literal and metaphorical fires. Applause rang out, mingling with quiet sniffles of joy from their families. Later, as they shared their first dance beneath twinkling fairy lights, Oliver whispered, "Thank you for taking a chance on me." Amelia rested her head on his shoulder. "You saved me in more ways than you know." He smiled, pressing his lips to her temple. "Ironic, since you're the firefighter." She laughed softly, swaying in his arms. "We saved each other." In the years to come, they'd face new challenges. Life didn't miraculously become easy, but they faced them together, each day fueled by the steady burn of a love that refused to be extinguished. And whenever they cooked, they kept a watchful eye on the stove, ready to quell any sparks, except the ones in their hearts, which they let blaze as brightly as ever.